Vomiting years of pitiful common sense and preconceptions. I'm already liking this Botany character. He's really great. And I think it's really because he's another Hubert. I really liked Hubert's character because he's a type of character that's in the middle there. He believes in God and he believes in science. And he has this thirst for that knowledge, and he believes that the two of them sort of coexist. The beauty of the world and the creation of God is through the science, if we can look into it. And that's what Botany is. He's a character that's like, hey, the church is stagnant. They're stuck in this one place. They have this thought process that this is what is true, and they're building off of that, which is dumb. If you don't look at what possibly can be and just build on what you've already kind of set as being truth, you're never going to get anywhere. And he has that thirst for knowledge. He's a Hubert. No matter what, no matter if these people come after me, even in that moment with that text in his hand, he's like, I'm going to open it. I love it. It's like, it is kind of cheesy. It's kind of cheesy. The guys are standing there going, we're going to burn your eyeball out. I'm going to do it. I have to. I have this thirst for this knowledge. I have to see what's in here. This could change everything. I'm stuck in it. I'm in this spot that I can't find something new. I want to look at that forbidden text, but they won't let me. I have to do it. I have to open it. I almost felt like that was sort of a trap. Like it was placed there just to see if he'd go get it. Oh, my door's left open. I'm going to put this book right here. I wonder if Botany will look at it. It's a trap. It was totally a trap. Trying to get him out of there. I don't know. He didn't seem like he wanted Botany to get caught because, again, it makes their location look bad. We had a guy here that wanted to and looked at forbidden text. We had to demote him, burn his eyeball out, and it looks bad on us. So I don't know. It just seemed like it was a little cheesy. Let's be honest. But no. Fantastic episode. Again, I'm really loving it again because of Botany. And I still love that we brought Glass in here again. I like that we still brought Glass back into the picture. The idea of how his actions inspired Oxy. Bringing back that idea of everybody I killed before, who were all going to go to heaven, they all looked scared. They all looked upset. They didn't like the idea of dying. Yet, these two people that seem like they're okay with these heretical ideas, these bad ideas that will get you sent to hell, they're all happy. These people that wanted beauty in the earth, they're all happy. And I think it's all going to play into the same concept that Botany has, the idea of it's okay to love this and this science and everything, and that it's all encompassing, it's all in one. And yes, this idea that we are, as Earth, being, rotating in the universe itself, this preconceived notion, this pre-idea, this idea that we've established that we are the center of the universe and everything rotates around us, is this idea that we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom. But no, this theory is the idea that we're flowing through the heavens. We're one with it. We're actually a part of that beauty. It's just, again, so good. I think the way they put it all, Botany's statements toward later the part of this episode were just too fantastic. But I want to get into it all. Let's go through it like I typically do. I don't want to just jump right ahead and then forget what I've gotten through here. But yes, the episode itself opening up with Oxy confronting Botany. And I like that because it is kind of establishing that this guy is all about his study. He just wants to do, like, even the history stuff, like everything, the backstory, it's all about, like, give me my lashings, here, give it to me, and let me get this done. I want to get back to my books. Like, all he cares about is seeking knowledge. I don't want anything to get my way. So it makes sense right here when Oxy's coming to him and saying, I have this information for you. I can take you somewhere where there's information. Is this something that's going to change my world? I don't want to bother with it unless it's important, basically. And yes, getting into the idea that, yes, at some point you apparently met my friend Glass. Oh, yeah, I meet a lot of people all the time. I was bored. I just kind of talked to him because I was bored, which is kind of funny because I guess it's sort of establishing here that the concept of retrograde motion was already a thing at this point. I thought that Glass was creating that, but apparently Botany already had that. And that makes sense because apparently back when Glass first talked to Botany about it, Botany was like, yeah, it's a planet. We've already been watching it. And yeah, the planets, they do this kind of thing at some point. It's called retrograde motion. But as we kind of see with the episode, it does at least establish that they don't know why. And again, I kind of assume that. I kind of assume that either Glass is going to bring the idea of retrograde motion to Botany or the opposite. Of course, I thought Glass was going to pick up on what the retrograde motion was doing per at least what Raphael's seen, or at least what Hubert was already establishing, that this idea of the rotating planets around a star rather than us being the center of the universe. So it all kind of connects there. I still like it, though. But it does seem like for Botany, it is at least establishing this idea that, the layman, the typical person, the commoner, can figure this stuff out too. At least Glass, even in his status in the society, which It's more going to the idea of assuming that Glass himself, because of his status, wouldn't have as much instruction. He wouldn't have a university or something that he's going to. He's not going to be very book smart. The commoner is not going to be very well read. I think even the idea of them even knowing how to read in general is just not going to be there. But Glass has figured it out. Even with Glass's status, he's able to figure out retrograde motion. It's just, yes, so, unfortunately, and as Oxy kind of points out, he didn't like it. He stopped him. He's like, why isn't this finished? He's supposed to finish this thing. Why didn't he finish it? Which I guess would go to all their charts and whatnot. He's been doing this for 2 years. That's a lot of charting that somebody did that he could possibly use, but he never finished it. Why? Because it stopped. It started going backwards, and that upset him. And he's like, oh, duh. It's retrograde motion. Again, it's like this idea of like, this is common sense for us. Why would it not be common sense for him? I don't know if this is true, but I did like how he kind of put that. And that's something that I don't think I've ever heard before. The idea that the word planets came from, I know it came from the word planetes, but I didn't know it was the Greek word for wanderer. And that was specifically connected to the idea of retrograde motion. This idea that the planets themselves just wander. They don't have a set path. That at some point they will wander. I don't know if that's true, but if that is, that's actually a very cool little concept there. The idea that the word came from that. I guess the part that I'm not too 100% sure on is the idea that is it based on the fact that they sometimes wander. But yeah, that's when we get into the history of botany, or at least when he was admitted to this abbey, and this idea that he was brought there because it seems like these universities thought that he was a very well-studied person, but getting into the idea of his seeking of knowledge and how it gets him in trouble. This is kind of one of those interesting things. I guess it's really getting the idea of don't step out of line. Keep in step with others. Observe the rules. And you're doing all this stuff, which is great. He's like doing all this massive study. He's doing all this stuff, but he's doing it by himself. He's not doing it with other people. He's standing out too much. He's getting out of line. He's doing too much. And thus, I'm kind of curious if that's an aspect of him showing up his superiors, and thus they want to keep him down, or just simply the idea that he's going too far on his own. He's isolated, and that's sort of a sign of going to somewhere bad. And the idea that you might have other scholars that have been isolating themselves, they get away from other people, they don't stay in order, and then eventually they'll get into heretical ideas. I'm curious if that's the case there, but like I said before, going so far as to give his own lashing to himself just so he can get out of there quicker so he can get back to his study. But again, bringing up the idea that he believes, Botany right here believes that they're stuck. They're stuck in a spot, and there's something to be found. There's something to be discovered. There's something that is wrong. If you believe that this is all created by God, there needs to be an order to it. There's a riddle that needs to be solved here. Why do stars reverse the path of orbit? If this is some perfect thing created by God, why is it wrong? Why is it flawed in some way? At some point, it's messing up. And it makes sense that, yes, this guy is going to reply to that with the idea of it's just ordained by God. It's not flawed. It has to be perfect. He just ordained it that way. He ordained it to not go in a perfect circle. Don't seek out knowledge. Don't try to push against the grain. We're going to build off this theory that we have, and we're going to try to create calculations around that. Which, again, if you're basing your knowledge off of a flaw, you can't create a calculation behind it. But it's interesting to get into sort of Botany's mindset here in that it's sort of putting it as if the church itself, the people around him, are stopping him, who's been blessed by God to give it all his talent, to seek this truth. I have to seek this truth. He gave this to me and I have to find this. It's sort of like it's putting him into a higher plane than everybody else around him. Like he's some sort of gifted vessel, which is, I don't know if that's going to get into something later on, but it is kind of interesting. But yes, when he gets the forbidden book, he opens it up. He tries to read as much as he can real quickly. I like how it kind of puts it, like he just opens it and it's like, scan, quickly, scan, and stopped. It's really great. But it's interesting that the Father Abbot was actually wanting him to not do it. Like, we haven't witnessed you actually open it. You could still turn back. And it's the guys around him are like, no, he's done something wrong. He's going after a forbidden book. But no, the Father Abbot's like, no, it's fine. You can still stop this. But it is sort of putting it as if he himself is trying to just do best for his people. Like, if he's caught, if Botany does this, if he can get around having to actually punish Botany, it's good because he won't look bad. It still kind of turns it into a selfish thing. That's when we cut over to Oxy, and again, he has this struggle with looking up to the stars. And I like that idea that he is struggling with this, that why even bother? And it's just me helping heretical ideas. Why even bother with this? It's just something that he fears looking at, and the only reason he's going to have to do it is for heretics. Why would I bother doing it? But then again, it comes back to the idea. Everybody that went with this idea looked happy. All these people that love the earth and not the heavens, they were happy in the end, which is totally, again, contrast to all the people that believe in God and heaven and everything, fearing it, looking like they're scared, looking like they're upset, looking like they're sad. It doesn't make any sense to him. But yeah, he gets the information for him. And again, based on what Botany is thinking about, which is this whole idea of his back history and seeking that knowledge and going against it no matter what, that thirst for that knowledge, I think it's sort of placing what Oxy has for him in comparison to this whole situation with Botany in the past, where this one book that he went after, not even knowing what's in that book, he went after that one book because he just wants something to trigger some sort of knowledge. And I think that sort of contrasts with now, where he's thinking this is troublesome. Some random dude showed up. He's got a book from some commoner that didn't even know about retrograde motion. This book that he gives me, is this a sign of what is in whatever Oxy believes that he has? It's not a good sign. It's really not a good sign. But again, I think it's sort of that aspect of him remembering that one moment where that was that book that he didn't even know what was in it, that made him dart to that window, grab that book, and rip it open. Despite there's somebody standing there saying, I'm going to burn your eyeball out, he still opened it. I think that's sort of what it's contrasting there. Yeah, that's enough. Just this hope that I might find something. And sure enough, it's something great. So great that he pukes. I like how his response to literally looking into this box of information is to puke all of his preconceived notions and all this kind of stuff. I thought it was kind of funny. And this is sort of what I thought was going to happen with Glass when he looked at it. But again, it kind of carries over to Botany. This idea that the moment that he sees what's in that box, it connects everything. We were already established in this idea that Botany knew about retrograde motion, and now he's seeing all this information in this box, and it all just clicks for him. Like he says, all of this, it's overturning 1,000 years of all these theories. It's connecting it all. All these issues that we're all having, it's filling in all those gaps. It's perfect. He even puts it that this is something that I can actually publish. And that's the scary part. And I think that's probably where Botany's story is going to go forward, hopefully with Oxy at his side. What I'm guessing the story is going to go into now is because he's looking at this and it all is clicking. It's all connected. It's filling in all those gaps. Every theory we have is suddenly being explained by this one thing. All the faults, all the issues is all being explained by this one theory. How do I publish it? This could change the world and the universe. How do I publish it? We got all this stuff together. How can I put it into written form and give it out to people, give it to the public, change the church, change the world, and it be accepted? ? It's almost like he has to present it in a way that is going to be understandable and irrefutable. Otherwise, it doesn't go anywhere. It'll just get burnt. He'll get thrown in the stake. It's all done. That's the question mark. And I think that's, assuming that's where it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to be a thing where he's going to have to actually put it on a chart, figure it all out, put all the pieces together, and make it make sense before he can present it, or what. But I'm actually very curious about that. I have to admit that the moment that he tries to show to Oxy what it means with retrograde motion and how it all fits with this idea of the world being not at the center of the universe, he goes over there and puts a stick down, and he starts walking around, and he's like, Oxy, circle around it, between me and the stick. And he goes running by, and he's all exhausted. I'm assuming that Oxy went around several times, and then that's what kind of clicked it for him. Not just, the anime just sort of made it look like he just ran past him once and he was exhausted. Like, Oxy, a mercenary, he's all over the place. This dude's very physically fit, and yet he just runs past it. In the anime, it looks like he runs past him once and he's exhausted. It's great. But again, it all kind of clicks to what they're saying here. It clicks for Botany. It seems like it clicks for Oxy as well. And finally, given that, again, that idea of how, not that it's bad to even think about the idea that, we're not the center of the universe, that we're not the bottom, at the very bottom, the bottom feeders where everything's twisted and broken, but in fact that the earth itself is traveling through this universe. These heavens that they've always claimed, this world and the stars and everything is the heavens, and now we're kind of going through it. It means that we're mingling amongst the heavens. We're going around. Everything is sort of equal. It makes it change everything. That perception and everything changes in them, which I think is great. You have literally so many perspectives throughout this series so far of people that see the universe and the earth differently. And even getting to this point where you have some people that are rejecting the heavens, but they all see it equally as beautiful. Again, Botany believes that he's blessed and bestowed his knowledge and his talents by God himself. That's how much he believes in God. Yet right here, he's fully accepting the idea that the earth itself is mingled amongst the heavens, and it's beautiful for him. Oxy believes that we are trash. Earth itself is garbage. We are the bottom feeders. Everything here is changing into ruin and into good and bad. Everything here is just this pot of corruption, yet it's flowing through the heavens, and it makes it more beautiful. I love that. He no longer fears looking up because he realizes that we're already in there. I think that's really what it's putting for Oxy. He suddenly realizes how beautiful it is because it's no longer this perception that we're at the bottom, but we're actually flowing through it. It's super cool. I really love it. But again, it all concludes with the big important question mark. How do we make this absolute? How do we keep this thing from being sort of put back in that box, closed and left behind? As Botany puts it, we got to make sure that we move the world. We got to make sure that we show everybody else. And again, it goes back to what Hubert says. It's not that it breaks things. It's not like knowing this is going to corrupt a person. It shows a beauty. The harmony that Earth has with everything else, it's a beauty. The harmony that the world, I mean, that's just literally a common thing. Like, I remember the moment that I kind of seen like a visual representation of like the universe itself, kind of showing these like computer generated graphs and whatnot, and seeing just how insanely huge the universe is and how everything is flowing around the sun so perfectly. It's mind boggling. The fact that everything has been flowing like this so perfectly for so long, it just constantly is rotating around, is mind boggling. It's hard to really consider. And again, it shows, at least to Botany, and many people of faith, the idea of just how insanely beautiful this creation is. It works side by side. Through science and religion, it works side by side. And again, that's the part that I was mentioning earlier. That's why I liked Hubert's character. I like that middle area person. It's easy to write a character that just wants to believe in nothing but science and that the church is evil and that science is 100%. It's easy to make a character who's 100% about religion, all about God, all about the creation, all that kind of stuff. But it's more difficult and more interesting to create a character that's in the middle, the one that believes in both. And it's technically what, ultimately, for a lot of this change in science, came from a lot of those people that believed in both things. Somebody that, as this story is kind of portraying, pushed against the mold, pushed against the church and said, no, there's something else here. This thirst for knowledge that in the face of death, they still push towards. It's really cool. I love this stuff. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know the episode. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you like this content, you want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate everybody does. Until next time, y'all take care.